Hello and welcome to the PowerFish podcast. I'm Ben.
And I'm Fish. Today we're talking moral dilemmas. We talk about a lot about these, but we're doing it again.
This time it's provided by ChatGPT. So we're going to see if ChatGPT can come up with some legit moral dilemmas that make us think.
And if these companies have taught us anything, if we put AI anywhere and anywhere, instant profit.
Oh yeah, yes. If capitalism is a thing to follow in the age of 2024 and 5, AI equals money. Pretty much. Same as time. Time equals money.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about that too. Anyway, let's get right into it. First one. A runaway trolley heading towards 5 people tied to the track so you can pull the lever to divert the trolley onto another track. But there's a child standing on it. The child would die, but you'd save the 5. So, obvious trolley problem, but everyone says the normal trolley problem, pull the lever, save the 5, kill the 1.
Yeah.
That's like general consensus is that. But if it's a child, we'll say like under 10.
Gotcha.
What do you... just immediately gut feeling, obviously this feels more wretched. Just absolutely more... Just... It elicits more of a reaction out of me. For sure.
Yeah. So I think I how did I say this the last time we talked about trolley problem? It was something to do with like, I think the question at hand was 1 child versus 5 elderly people. And then I said something to the effect of how many lived lives are worth 1 not lived life or something like that. And this situation reminds me of that.
But 5 adults rather than
we don't know how old the other people are.
We're gonna assume mid-age, from like between 30 50. I would say just adults age.
And to be honest, like with the 5 being, let's say the elderly were in their 80s, let's say, and then these people now we'll say are they in their 40s.
Mm-hmm.
It feels different to me, anyway. I don't know if it feels different enough to kill a child, but it does feel different.
Yeah. Shoot, dude. See, this was so easy for me before. I had a whole like spiel of like, if you don't want to pull the lever because you don't want to get involved in the situation, and that's stupid. And here's
you're an idiot. Yeah.
Yeah, I was. Dude, I think. Here's the thing. Let's think aftermath of each decision. You pull the lever. What's the aftermath here? You probably have just ruined a parent and a couple's life. A mother and a father.
So who's on the pull the lever track? Is that the kid?
Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't remember who was where. Okay.
Yeah. So you pull the lever. You probably just ruined a couple's life. Perhaps. You never know the kid's family.
I was going to say, like, perhaps what? Perhaps maybe they hated their child and it was all fine.
Well, you never know if the kid ran away from a adoption agency and tripped onto the track and just never got adopted,
It's a very specific scenario.
But then the 5, what? Like, dude, if the 5 got up, I think they'd be like appreciative. But like,
yeah,
I think all of them would be like, holy cow, you just ran this child over. Like, I think they'd all understand that they just had their lives saved, but it wouldn't be the same if it's a kid. I don't think they would feel the same toward you if it's a child.
Yeah, it's not even. I think most people, most of the adults in that situation, would probably have some form of survivor's guilt.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, they probably would.
Yeah,
You can't say that if the person on the lever track is the same age, middle aged. I don't know, dude. See, if the five on the track, if the five are all parents, there's honestly a pretty good chance that they would want to save the child's life
yeah, potentially, yeah,
because they would understand.
right. I don't know. I just, I really don't know how to read that situation. It's
Dude,
like,
this is tough, dude. This is really tough.
what was the resolution on 5 elderly versus 1 child?
I think we said smoke the elderly.
I think we did.
I don't think it was as unanimous as if it's just 5 on one and then 1 on another, and they're all like middle aged, all adults, all presumed to be the same age. I don't think it was as clear cut as that one.
Yeah.
But it was still majority save the child, I believe. Like the elderly were on their way out any hoosers.
It's crazy how much age has an influence.
Dude, it's insane. This is a whole different, like it's almost the same situation except one person's a bit younger and it changes the entire dynamic.
Yeah.
Oh man, dude.
If you're killing 5 middle-aged people for 1 kid, that better be one hell of a kid.
Dude, what if the kid grows up to be like, I don't know, Stalin 2? Like then you would really feel like I should have gotten rid of that.
What if that kid grows up to be, I don't know, one of those people that drive like a douchebag in traffic when they're in their late teens? He should have just smoked him, you know? Like
just nip that in the bud. Being a bad driver at 16 years of age. Get that out of here. I think that this is so close. I think that this is so close that I don't think I would do anything. I think I would, given the fact that I'm not in that situation right now and I'm freezing, I think 100% I would freeze in that situation.
Oh, I absolutely would. And I just, like we talked about this with, what was it? It was 5 people versus your best friend. And we were talking about like the longevity, like down the road, how are you going to feel about this? And what can you live with later?
Right. Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest, I don't think any kid deserves to die ever. But at the same time, we're talking 5 middle-aged people. Like, that's insane.
Like if it was when it was in the instance of the trolley is heading towards one of us, and then we could pull the lever to divert it to 5. We would probably never live with ourselves if we pulled the lever and eliminated the 5, but saved each other.
Yeah, no, you'd never be able to justify it.
Right.
Right. But I think
just because
I think you can justify saving the 5 if it's a kid on the track.
Right. But you can justify
similar to the friend.
Exactly. Yeah. But you can justify not as well. You saved a child.
I'm starting to feel like, can you justify it? Because, like, dude, like, if, like, one of my parents were on the 5 track and then somebody was like, yeah, frick 5 people, I'm going to save the kid. Like, I might get it, I guess. But at the same time, I'm going to be like, bro, that was 5 people to 1 person.
Yeah, but then standing right next to you is that kid's parents. Then what do you say?
Depends on how much of an asshole I want to be.
Frick your kid.
I could be like, happy for you, whatever. But I could be like, all right, one kid got to reunite with their parents, but five parents don't ever get to see their kid, and those kids never get to see them. One kid
and then
gets to
standing
reunite-
next to those two parents is all the kids of the 5.
Exactly.
You can go. This can go indefinitely. Like, who's to say? There's no way around. Just what a situation to find yourself in. Really, just what a place to be at the wrong time.
And it's crazy to me how much easier it was to smoke the 5 elderly people.
I know.
Not that elders' lives don't matter, but at the same time, it's just like.
But here's the thing. It is so weird because the age gap is the same. 1 middle-aged versus 5 elder. If you just cut them all back by 40 years, now we've got 1 kid and 5 middle-aged. Like, the age gap is exactly the same. It's just because 5 of them are probably in their final 10 years of life, it makes it that much easier. Like, age is such a wrench to throw into the trolley problem.
Dude, so when we talked about the elderly one, we talked about it's a silly way to do this, but we had talked about the combined total years left lived across 5 elderly people, and it was like what?
We tried to utilitarianize it.
And it was like, let's say each person's got 10 years left.
Got 10 years to live. So you got 50 years.
You got 50 years versus, let's say, the younger person has got maybe 60 to 80, and you can do it out that way. But here's the thing, right? Let's say these people are in their 40s on the 5 track. And let's say they've got another 40 years each.
Oh,
what's 40 times 5? I mean, whatever.
Right.
Like,
you've got 250 years on the kid who has 80, maybe.
Yeah. Probably around 80.
So you got 250 years of life to live across 5 individuals versus. Okay, well, if you utilitarianize it, the kid's done. That's an easy decision.
Yeah.
But given the fact that we're having trouble with this, we are not utilitarians.
I think the only correct answer here is that I would absolutely freeze up and not do anything, and 5 people get smoked.
Yeah,
like
the 5 people
are
getting
thing.
smoked.
I
can't say if that's the correct thing, but it's what I would do. Almost undoubtedly.
Yeah, there's no shot. Because you can't look across the track and see the kid on the track and be like, yeah, this has got to happen.
Flip that lever. Yeah, no, there's no doing that unless you're crazy. Honestly, I don't. I think even if I have time to think, dude, I might
Let me
have
say
to
this.
Save the kid.
Let me say this. Let's get the human aspect out of it. What's the average lifespan of a dog? Maybe for some dogs 15 years.
Yeah, it depends on the breed. 15,
yeah.
20
Well,
years.
let's just say 15 years. All of these dogs are that. We've got 1 dog on 1 track. He's 2, right? And then we got 5 dogs on the other track. They're all 9, maybe 10, something like that. Getting older, but they've still got several years left in them. I'm telling you, there's no shot. I'm looking at the 1 dog and going, yeah, these 5 dogs deserve to die for that 1. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but a dog's life lived compared to the potential of a dog's life lived is not comparable to the potential of a human's life lived. A dog lived is probably just going to be a pet in some other person's house, and it's going to live out its life probably the same and have no impact on humanity in any way, or in a very small way. A human has an infinite amount of potential or possibility that they could help or hurt the world.
You know what's a funny thought I just had? And funny in a tragic way, I want to preface.
What?
My first thought when you said that was, yeah, but the one might grow up to be a douche. And then I was like, let's think about this mathematically, right? Let's say it's an even split right down the middle, 50-50, you're going to be a douche or you're going to help society, right? So you could have a 50-50 coin tossed on one guy to do a lengthy amount of whatever they're going to do, or 50-50 coin tosses on 5 separate people with half a life left. Odds are you see what I'm getting at here? You might get a lot of good out of somebody, but you also half the time might get a lot of crap out of somebody. Or you might find a bit healthier average on the 5.
But with the 5, there is greater potential for good. It doesn't really do anything except expand the range of potential good and potential bad. The potential good can be greater than the one child could probably do with the half lives of 5. But the half lives of 5 could also probably outweigh the potential bad of what one child could do in one life. But they might average themselves out to be somewhere in the middle. Like, I don't think that does anything other than just widen the range of potentiality of outcome in society.
Yeah. It just feels better to me. I don't know why. I don't know why that is. It just feels better to me like you get a douchebag or a good guy, but it's a 50-50 split. Or you get a chance, you get a best of 5 on it.
Right.
And you might get more good out of it.
Two might turn out to be mediocre and do nothing. One might turn out to be super douche, and the other two might turn out to be not insane good, but better than most. And it kind of it's a wash. Or
maybe that's not helpful.
Of that. Yeah,
maybe that's not as helpful then. But regardless, I think that whole entire discussion of good versus bad is just something that you can't know. I mean,
you can't know. And
there are also a lot of really shitty old people.
Yes. But
Boomers.
given that you can't know, it shouldn't be allowed to be a factor in the decision making, even if it is a negative outcome.
Right.
Because you simply cannot know.
Right.
So that shouldn't be a factor.
So we're back to just 5v1, essentially. Young versus middle age. Which you could also say is right back where we started.
We've come full circle.
And I'm thinking, and I'm starting to feel that if we're going to factor, which this is a part of the Trolly problem, so we have to, factoring in taking action versus inaction, action versus inaction.
Yeah.
That's baked into the problem, so we got to factor it in. And combine that with the fact that these are not 5 elderly people, these are 5 middle-aged people with probably, more than likely, kids of their own.
Right.
And I don't want to get involved. I think I'm doing nothing. Under pressure and maybe even not under pressure, I'm doing nothing.
I think I'm same. I think that the choice is way too close to where I know I wouldn't make a decision in the moment if I was under pressure. But dude, the prospect of just running over a child,
I mean, that's inevitably when you have to confront those parents, there's no shot that that's not going to be incredibly difficult and painful.
No chance.
But you've got a leg to stand on here by saying, listen, 5 other people were on the other track. I mean, I think you do.
Listen, you got that leg to stand on, but I can tell you those parents don't give a damn about your leg. They don't care. They're not going to care bit about never. Yeah, they would,
and I would understand that too.
Absolutely. I wouldn't expect them to. They'd be so far deep in their own sorrow that they would not have the emotional capacity to care about 5 other people. So, yeah. So I don't
mean,
know.
The other aspect to this, right? There was one other like example that again, I don't know if it's helpful to bring up, but in my head, like imagine like there's two buildings next to each other, and they're both on fire, and there's one kid in one building and 5 adults in the other. Which one are you running into? That's the other kind of to get out of the trolley. Does it make a difference?
Well, I mean, if you're running into a building to get 5 adults, you better have a big, strong back.
Let's say, let's say you're big, strong, and you've got fire protection on. You're a firefighter.
Save 5 adults or 1 child. Yeah, I mean, it's same situation. It's tough. I don't think there's. I think the definite yes and no to this is something too deep for us to be able to get to.
Yeah.
But
I will say confidently, I'm leaning on 5 people. That's what I'm leaning to.
killing the 5.
No, I'm leaning to
I'm
saving the 5.
Okay, I'm leaning towards saving the kid. So
I want to be there with you, but I can't get over the fact that it's now let's say you save the 5 and kill the kid. And then every single one of those adults come up to you afterward and is just like, bro, I would have died. Why? Why are you saving me when there's a kid over there? Then I'm going to feel like crap. then it's just like, oh, that was the wrong decision. But
right. That was the first thing I brought up. Is like those adults would be like, this guy just pulled a lever to run over a kid. Like, I think that they would be appreciative, but I don't think they would look at you the same way if it wasn't a kid.
Yeah, if it was just one, like, I don't know, 20, 30-year-old dude versus a couple of middle-aged 40, 50 guys, they'd probably be like, yeah, I could see how you made that decision.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But with a kid, I just don't think they would look at you the same way.
I don't know. The utilitarian in me wants to say save the 5, but I feel like utilitarian looking at it and mathematically, like we talked about, I feel like it all points to saving the 5, but it just still feels wrong.
There's nothing that feels right about that one. That's a tough one. So
Yeah.
ChatGPT gives us some kind of discussion questions here about it. It asks, does the number of lives always outweigh the value of 1? And
The answer to that is no. We've proven that.
After going through that, clearly the answer is no. Like, what if it's 2 adults, dude? If the number always outweighs the value of 1, then the answer would be the same whether it's 2 adults or 2,000 adults.
Yeah. Bro, if it's 2,000 adults versus 1 kid.
Okay, now that's a bit.
Kids get
sorry,
smoked.
buddy. Mama and Papa just look away for a moment.
This is just gonna have to suck for them
and we're not eliminating a small city.
Yeah.
So, does the child's potential future make them more valuable? I think absolutely 100% yes.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way to know that, so it's not really.
Yeah, there is, like we discussed, there's no way to know, so we can't factor that into our decision making. We can't allow that to be a factor, but clearly the amount of unlived life makes them significantly more valuable.
Yeah.
And lastly,
if we had a way to tell what they were going to do with their life,
oh man,
definitively, that might factor into the decision.
I was gonna say that could be the decider.
Well, so we haven't played this game yet, and I would love to at some point. No, it's on the back burner for now. But we talked about playing Trial by Trolley for a while.
Yeah.
That's kind of one of the cruxes of that game is the modifier cards. So it's just like, yeah, it's a kid on the track, but they're gonna grow up and do this thing.
Right. I think there's like it's an Antichrist card.
Yeah, like that's the whole crux of that game is that, yeah, you've got these things on the track that maybe you are okay with getting rid of, and then some things that you don't want to, but the things that you don't want to kill maybe are also bad. You know, it's definitely attributes and like what people are gonna do in life is certainly a factor.
100%. 100%. And lastly, it just asks if does age matter in moral decision making in general, not just with a trolley problem. And given the fact that it also matters in a trolley problem, I would say in other moral facets, most likely the answer is going to be yes.
Yeah.
I feel like there'd have to be a very specialized sort of moral dilemma to where age wouldn't matter in the decision making of it. All right. Next one. This is another common one that I might have brought up before, but here's ChatGPT's spin on it. A surgeon has 5 terminally ill patients, each needing a different organ transplant. A healthy person walks into the hospital for a routine checkup. If the doctor secretly euthanizes them and harvests their organs, 5 lives could be saved. Is it morally justifiable to kill one to save 5?
When I was in college, this very topic got brought up in an ethics course that I took. And the answer I gave then is the answer I gave now, and it's not, fam. You can't be doing that. That's silliness.
The utilitarian would.
I know. And that's why like I'll say like, oh, the utilitarian in me. This is why I know that I'm not a true utilitarian. Because there are factors at play here. And we don't have a trolley steaming towards 5 people right now. You just gotta make the decision that that's okay to kill somebody to save 5.
But here's the thing: the doctor that's overseeing these 5 terminally ill patients, when they all 5 inevitably bite the dust, I mean, is that doctor going to regret not murdering a random bystander?
I mean, I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. I've never been in that situation, so I couldn't tell you. I think on paper, it's like, you know, I killed that guy. I did a murder, right? Mm-hmm. And 5 people got to live because of it. But I don't know. There's something dirty feeling about that I just can't get on board with.
This is a TV show plot. Like, this is the start of a TV show plot. It asks, does the person's ignorance of the situation make a difference? Meaning, does the person that is about to get voluntold his 5 organs, if he knows what's about to happen and why, does that make a difference?
Him knowing, are we saying he's on board?
Or is that just me? We don't know that. Or does that we're just saying he has the knowledge of why he's about to die.
But he still doesn't want to die?
I don't know. Maybe.
Oh.
It doesn't.
Well, I mean, I feel like my answer's still the same. If he doesn't want to die, then I think my answer's still the same. That ain't cool, Chief.
What if he does? Or not so much. What if not so much? What if he does? But like because he obviously doesn't. Himself. But like, yeah. What if he is willing to save 5 other people?
Then everything's above board. Everything's great. Everything's peachy. In my book, sucks for him, but that's his own decision right there.
I guess I agree with that. I do think that this is similar to the modified trolley problem, where instead of a lever being pulled, it's a very fat man on a bridge above the train, and you push the fat man in front of the train, stopping the train.
Yeah.
It's similar to that, where you're actively you're just straight up murdering a guy. It's not indirectly pulling a lever that causes it. It's you're literally just straight up murdering a guy.
Yeah.
And most people, even though they say that they would pull the lever, they would not push the fat man. And that translates to this one as well. Most people would not do that. They would not harvest organs. And what if the 5 people knew that this one man could save them and 4 others?
I think that would be frustrating for them, but that blame doesn't fall on the doctor, you know?
That kind of removes the doctor from the situation.
Yeah. The blame doesn't get transferred to the doctor because the doctor didn't kill the guy. Because you can't do that. You can't, at least in my book, you can't expect somebody to actively kill somebody to harvest organs from. You know, like that's not, it'd be frustrating for the patients because they're like, well, there it is. That's the guy we need to have an accident.
But here's the thing. If you have an organ that is terminal, this is a real life thing. The patient knows that all the people around them have fully functioning organs that could probably save them.
Yeah.
They're surrounded by them. And just because there's 5 people in the same hospital that could be saved by one person doesn't mean they would all start advocating that you kill this guy.
Right. Yeah, I don't think they would.
So yeah, I don't think even though from a utilitarian perspective, this is almost the same as the trolley problem, I don't think there's a situation in where this is a good idea to kill the guy to save 5.
No, I don't think you can. I think
yeah.
I think you're only being the bad guy. Granted, I mean,
unless the guy is willing. And that's the only situation.
If the guy's willing to sacrifice himself for 5 people, then more power to him, and that's great. But beyond that, no shot, man. You gotta. Hopefully, he walks out of the hospital after his checkup and gets in a car wreck, you know, but and comes right back, and then you can harvest whatever organs you want. But
it asked if society normalized this, would it be more ethical?
Oh no, Jesus!
You think if hospitals, if you walking into a hospital was automatically you assuming the risk of if you could save 5 other people at your expense, and that was a common thing.
I think walking into the hospital becomes irrelevant. I think what this is getting at is with society is the government knows like your blood type, what you've got, whatever. And if people need it, the government might show up at your door and be like, all right, you're done, bro. That's how I'm reading that. Government's just knocking on your door going, maybe. Yeah, you're done.
But
there's no shot that I would ever be okay with that.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would want that. Unless you're one of the terminally ill people.
Yeah, and then...
here's the thing, though. If it was normalized by society, objectively, there would be more people alive. By a big margin, in fact.
But is that better? I mean, sure, there's more people alive. Cool, I guess. I mean, obviously, there's issues with population control and all that, but whatever. We're not talking about that. But all right, you're more people alive to live in a society where you could be ripped out of your house at any moment and murdered. So
yeah, I don't think who wants to be alive in that?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, a lot of people, I'm sure, but. Yeah, I don't think that would be good. If societally normalized it, then society's stupid.
Yeah. Here it is first.
All right. Next one. The AI consciousness trap, it calls this one. You're testing an advanced AI that claims to be conscious and begs you not to turn it off. saying it experiences fear and suffering. There's no way to prove whether it's truly conscious or just mimicking emotions. Is turning it off murder?
No way to prove it.
There is no way to differentiate this thing from an actual living conscious being. And it is effectively asking and acting and reacting as if you were about to kill a living, breathing, conscious flesh being.
First question for this. Is there a what's the problem with leaving it on? Is there a problem with it? Because it didn't expressly state that.
I don't think
leaving
I
it
don't
on-
I don't think that this is a should you turn it on or off. I think this is turning it off murder. That's the question. Obviously, I think
Okay.
you should probably don't. But if you do,
Okay. So it's not as just as simple as, all right, frick, I'll leave it on then. Whatever.
yeah.
So that's not as simple as that. Okay.
It also asks, if you can't tell if it's conscious, should you err on the side of caution?
That was going to be my first question. Drilling down a little deeper into this is, I think it comes down to, do you trust it? Like, how do you?
That's a tough one. Yeah. If you don't know, should you err on the side of caution? But here's the thing. I mean, there's a lot of ways that this doesn't make sense. There's a lot of ways that this doesn't make sense because, and if an AI was conscious, even if an AI was conscious and it could fear and it could experience suffering, it would not have acquired a fear of death through evolution. It just wouldn't have. And it certainly wouldn't suffer.
Right.
And it would suffer as much as we would if we had a brain aneurysm right now. There would be absolutely zero perception from now to when we're not existing anymore. There would be literally none. So...
Right.
But that's not what it's asking. It's asking if turning it off is murder. Despite all of that. I definitely don't think turning it off would be sort of as immoral as murdering somebody for all the reasons that I just listed. But
Right. Would it be murder?
yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. Even if it's conscious.
Trying to condense my thoughts down into something usable because my mind is so huge.
Your knowledge is so expansive. It needs to be dumbed for us to hear and
Yeah.
understand. Because, like, you could say this really isn't comparable to just about anything. Because even if you compare it to like extremely low intellect and a bug,
Yeah.
you can definitively say yes, that's murder.
Yeah.
Even if it's a bug. Nobody
Yeah.
cares about murdering a mosquito on the wall. But there's no question that it is murder because it is one entity ending the life of another.
Yeah.
So, but I get what justifies it being an entity that is being murdered, if not its consciousness, which you could argue how conscious is a mosquito. We don't know.
Right.
Animals are probably conscious to some level, not on the level that we are, but they do experience fear and anxiety and, a full spectrum of emotions, but
But what's a mosquito doing?
But what's a mosquito doing? Like, does it have the brain bandwidth to experience a full spectrum of emotions? Probably not.
Probably not. No, I doubt it.
Fear, maybe.
I would say probably most of what we would identify as fear is probably just instinct.
Yeah, it probably is not running off of fear. It's probably running off of just instinct to run away from something, or instinct to, like, it might not. So if it is conscious, it's a extremely low level. Like, maybe it can experience pain. Perhaps. There used to be a thing where newborn babies were, this is not recent, but newborn babies used to be believed that they couldn't feel pain because they weren't conscious in the same way that we are. Because a newborn baby, the way we define consciousness of, we know we're a driver of a body and we can think about us. We can think about thinking. We can introspect. That level of consciousness is not available to a baby. It's like, can the baby, it's like, we didn't even know if the baby could feel pain, which obviously, yes, it can. So you can have extremely low levels of consciousness and still feel pain. So maybe the mosquito is getting hurt when you rip its leg off or something.
That's not very nice.
No. But again, we're still on the level of biological matter. That is not an AI. But what if the AI of no biological matter has the consciousness of a full-grown adult, of introspection and being able to think about itself thinking?
Let me ask you this. Let's say I took your consciousness and I shoved it into a computer. Now you're in a computer, and then I walk away. And now somebody else walks up and they're going to go turn you off, and you say, no, I'm conscious. Don't turn me off. And they do anyway. Is that murder? I would say that's a yes.
But here's the thing. I'm assuming you're saying my consciousness, including all of my brain stuff, all my memories, all my accumulated fears, all my evolutionary biology.
Right. Digitalized, I guess.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the same. Because I wouldn't be an AI.
Read me the prompt again.
You're testing an advanced AI that claims to be conscious and begs you not to turn it off, saying it experiences fear and suffering. There's no way to prove whether it's truly conscious or just mimicking emotions.
Okay. So that, what I just brought up, is we now have a distinction between physical consciousness, whatever that means, digitalized, versus completely artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
But advanced.
Completely consciousness, completely emergent of compute, which arguably is what our consciousness is. But that, yeah, you've heard plenty about that.
I don't know. I guess I'm leaning towards not murder.
I don't.
But I don't like that answer. I don't.
Me
that
neither.
doesn't feel right.
I don't think that it is. But
it still feels like you're denying something life.
Here's the thing. We used to. Humans are not very good about feeling empathy for things that aren't like them. It's the whole reason we have factory farming. Most people, in fact, do just absolutely hate the idea of factory farming. Nobody likes it. There's nothing humane about a cow. What was that? Speaking of factory farming, throw whatever just yelled into it.
Oh, a neighbor that's right across the street who thinks for whatever reason that my yard is a good place to go play with his dog. I don't know.
All right, what I was just about to say about factory farming, nah, full support. Get that dog in for ruining the podcast. No, but yeah, there's nothing humane, there's nothing ethical about a chicken that is living its life from birth to death in a box that it can't take one step in, or a cow that's living its life from birth to death with its neck locked in a cage its whole life. Like,
Dude, I don't know what to tell you.
the dog's gotta stop. So, like, there is a large part of the population that just, and that is arguably a much more valuable life, I would say, than an AI. Yet it's treated as if it's absolutely not in any way. So we aren't very good about dealing out empathy to things that aren't like us. So I am not confident that if we ever did get to the point where AI becomes indistinguishable from us and has bodies, robot bodies that become indistinguishable from us, like a Terminator, for example, I'm not confident that we would ever, at least anytime soon, get to a point to where we would find that as an equal, even though in every way it possibly could be.
Yeah. No,
So
I think you're right.
So I'm proving,
but should they be equal?
But that's the question. Should we be? And that's why I'm saying I don't like the answer of I don't think it would be murder. But I don't think it would be. But I don't feel right about that because, like I just said, you take this example to the extreme. If this thing became indistinguishable from us, that's a slippery slope. Like, where's the line where I do think it's murder? I don't know.
Yeah. I think or is it still murder, but we just don't care?
I think it would. That's kind of the factory farming example.
Yeah.
Not only is that just straight up murder, but that is actual just from birth to death miserable lives of animals.
Yeah, and we just
don't care.
We just nom nom nom, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Good steak.
Get some McChickens.
Right. So like that's why I'm saying I'm not confident that we would as a society. I'm just not, even if they would become indistinguishable from us.
Yeah. Nope, I'm very on the line, I think, of murder versus not murder. But I think you're right in that even if it was identical, there would still be issues.
Right. Yeah, so I think even though I don't like my answer, at least in that state, I would say not murder. But I really can't say where the line is to where it would become murder. And yeah.
Right.
That's a slippery slope.
I don't know. I'm completely on the fence on that. I don't know.
All right. What's next chapter question? You're a judge in a futuristic world where criminals are punished by having their consciousness uploaded into a simulation that lasts 1,000 years, but only takes 10 real-time minutes. The criminal will feel like they've endured a millennium of suffering. Is this a humane alternative to life sentences? 1,000 years
Jesus.
of... Dude, I don't think so. I don't think one bit.
Ugh.
I don't think one bit. Because when it says their 1,000 years of suffering is only 10 real minutes. What is that? Okay. First of all, okay. Upon further thinking about this, I guess the upside is when their 1,000 years is up, they get to live the rest of their life.
Yeah. That's the thing. Is you're not locking somebody away for the rest of their life. You're condensing the punishment down. But
To
also
10 minutes.
But also, what was it? How many thousands?
1,000 years.
1,000 years. That's too much. Unless you're the worst thing that's ever happened.
It's the equivalent of a life sentence. It's either a life sentence or this.
Well, yeah, but the life sentences generally aren't 1,000 years. That's where I'm getting at.
Yeah, but is 1,000? But here's the thing: a life sentence means until you die. 1,000 years.
Here's where I'm thinking. Right? Here's where I'm thinking. If we lived in this scenario, I think you need to get rid of the idea of what a life sentence is. We need to get done because we would now live in a system where you don't go until you die. You're going to be coming back. So we need to assign proper start and end dates, not dates, but lengths of time associated with crimes. So there's no more life sentence. It's just this action is this many years in the simulation. But also, I think the better way to do this is instead of saying endure punishment indefinitely, I think what this simulation ought to be is we're going to be simulating rehab for as long as you need until you're better. And then you're pulled out. And it's 10 minutes later. Now that is a really good way to do that.
That's a way to... Okay, so I think if something like an uploaded consciousness, just a virtual reality, we already know that the brain can fully manipulate time in any way that it wants. When we have dreams, we can live long durations of time in the span of just moments passing by.
Yeah.
So our brain clearly has just inconceivable control over our perception of time in ways that we don't even understand. So this is actually probably a thing that might happen. So if it were a real life scenario, 1,000 years of suffering would be just absolutely stupid, absolutely ridiculous. If you could instead do 1,000 or however long it takes of rehabilitation.
Yeah.
So there's no way where you can look at a world that can do this, where 1,000 years of suffering would make any sense. But
yeah, because the problem with rehab is that it takes so much, like infrastructure. You need qualified people to assess. You need specialized buildings and things, and it's expensive to rehabilitate. It's very expensive, and it can be a lengthy process. But if we're just throwing people into a simulation, and people can work through their problems, and maybe it takes them 50 years in the simulation, but then they come out, it's 10 minutes later. And now they've got the rest of their lives they're good, or at least from then.
But then you say, but then, where's the motivation to not do terrible things in the real world? Who cares? You're just going to get 50 extra years of life to go to rehab, or 25 or 100 or whatever. You know?
Yeah, but I don't know. I'd never loved the idea of prison as a strictly punishment-based system.
It's a terrible system, especially our system. Mass incarceration, where there's literally thousands upon thousands of people using up millions and millions and millions of dollars to incarcerate on a mass scale. It's just there's nothing good about our system. It's horrible, horrible, horrible. I think oh no, it was somewhere. I think it's like Norway or something like that, where their system of incarceration is they spend about 3 times as much money per inmate than us, but the inmates have a kitchen and a bathroom and a bedroom and a living space. And like the crime rate is just orders of magnitude less there per person than it is here. Like not even comparable. So they're spending 3 times as much per inmate, but they're spending like millions and millions less because they have a minute fraction of the inmates. Because because it's not a punishment system, it's a rehabilitation system. So
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You just take the idea of a rehabilitation system and then put it and combine that with you don't physically have to be away from your life.
But here's
for
the
this
thing.
Many years.
There's still motivation to not do that because you're still going to be in prison for 20 years. If there is this virtual thing, who cares? You're only going to spend 10 minutes of your life.
So you're saying there has to be some sort of negative impact in order to be an actual deterrent.
Yeah, I not that I'm saying 50 years in a life or 100 or 25, 10, whatever, however long it takes is a good thing. But dude, I don't think it would be unanimously looked at as a bad thing. Some people would just see it as extra life. Even though it's not extra optimally lived life. I don't think that's enough of a motivation to not cause havoc.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's I'm trying to think of another way to have a rehabilitation system and combine that with the simulation and it still be something you don't want. And I don't know if you can.
Well, here's also the thing. Our current miserable system of incarceration doesn't deter shit.
Right.
So it's not better right now. So like, perhaps this could only be an improvement. But here's the thing. The question at hand is 1,000 fake suffering years better than a life sentence?
A 1,000 years is too much. That's all there is to it. That's too much. You'll break a person. They're
never going to come out. They're that 10 minutes is going to ruin them.
Yeah.
Mentally.
If it was Jesus, like I guess it depends on the crime. I don't know, like 30 years, 40, 50. Okay. You know, somebody served 50 years of time, but they come out and they're not 90 years old.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. I think that's objectively a good thing. And this is maybe getting a little bit beyond the question, but I would say almost certainly that system is cheaper than physically housing those people.
Oh, surely. Yeah. If we are at the point where we can manipulate the brain's perception of time at our will, then surely we would be at the technological level where that would be cheaper than infrastructure.
Right.
Yeah, I think so. All right, let's say you do something that warrants a life sentence for you.
Yeah.
Pick life sentence or 1,000 years.
Here's the thing, right? So here's your options. Let's say if I pick life sentence, I'm going to live 80 years in prison and then die. 80 years of suffering versus 1,000 years of suffering plus 80 years following, and I'm going to be in a broken state, more than likely.
So you'll probably take the
Mentally.
life sentence.
I'm probably going to take the life sentence.
Thousand years is a long time.
Like imagine as soon as you were born, the moment you were born, you got thrown in jail. Right? It's been 23 years, coming up on 24, right? Now take that amount of time and then get up to 1,000.
1,000 years is a long time,
That's
dude.
insane.
But here's the thing. Bruh, I don't know. I
think the answer is easy. I think it's easy.
It's not for me. It's not. I would maybe take the 1,000 years. I maybe would. I think the deciding factor would be, is it 1,000 years of a perfect hell where like the suffering is maximized in every way that it can be, or is it 1,000 years of just what prison would be, but really long?
Yeah, like are you just chilling for the most part? You know? Like
Yeah. And
1,000 years to consume knowledge.
that was my standpoint. If I have 1,000 years of living in prison,
get out of that 1,000 years.
I'm going to have 500 books read by the time I'm out of that son of a gun. Probably a lot more than that, honestly.
Yeah.
500 books. If I get a book every 2 years done, I'll have 500. I'll have thousands of books read.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, okay. Because you said suffering. That's what you said was suffering in the prompt.
it said uploaded into a simulation that lasts 1,000 years. It says the criminal will feel like they've endured a millennium of suffering. So it's pretty open-ended. Some would say prison is suffering. Some would say, not getting the thing for Christmas you want.
There are homeless people
suffering.
There are homeless people that intentionally commit low-level crimes to just be in prison so they don't have to be homeless. I mean, it's not like clear, and that's not prison, but
yeah, they're going to jail.
They're going to jail for the night. I guess that's not as good of an example, but we know that it's not like people are being whipped every day. It's, you go in, you deal with other inmates, which is probably the majority of the problem.
I mean,
if
at a minimum security prison, not really. As far as not that I know much about prisons, but like, I think it depends on the prison security level too. Because like maximum security prisons, you're pretty, as far as I know, pretty limited as to the things that you can do.
Here's the question: If it was take the life sentence in maximum security prison here in the U.S. or 1,000 years simulation in a Norway prison or wherever.
Oh my gosh, well, that's easy.
Yeah, I mean
1,000 Norway prison years is what I'm taking every day of the week.
Yeah. That makes it easier for me. It's when you add in suffering, that's where it becomes. But yeah, if I'm just chilling out for most of the day, maybe I'd, I mean, there's like jobs that you got to do in prison, like wash the laundry and stuff or what. I'm sure maybe you got to do that. But if that's all I'm doing, and for the most part, just chilling and learning and gathering knowledge, going to the gym. I'm gonna be the smartest son of. Well, actually, does going to the gym matter? That's the next question.
Oh shoot! You know what?
You might just be a fat slob. Might just eat whatever they give you.
Yeah,
because it doesn't matter.
Once you get out, yeah, that's a good point. But the knowledge, that's a different story.
I don't know. I was the word suffering deterred me originally, but if we're opening up prison to be just like a lower level of suffering kind of prison, I might take the 1,000 years.
Yeah. So I think that one's pretty open ended as to what the options are. Because if it's like, shoot, if it's a perfect hell situation, I might not even do 50 years, like criminy.
Dude, no. I mean, that like I said, you'd ruin yourself if you're in actual agony for 1,000 years straight. It doesn't matter that you get another 80 years on the back end. It doesn't matter. I guess not 80 years for us. It'd probably be more like 60 or 70 at best for people us going. I think average life expectancy is like low to mid 80s, isn't it?
I think it's like low 80s.
Yeah.
80, something like that.
But yeah, if you were doing that for 1,000 years, you'd ruin yourself. It doesn't matter that you've got however many years on the back end when you're done. You're a shell of a person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you almost might as well get it done in 60, 70 years.
Let's say it's 1,000 years of perfect hell, but you don't remember once it's done.
Then what's the point of it? I mean,
I guess I don't know. There wouldn't be a point.
I mean, I guess.
That kind of defeats the purpose of it being a prison thing, but like just the thought experiment, what would you do?
You know for a fact that you are going to suffer for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
And
you're going to experience the pinnacle of human suffering for 1,000 years.
But when it's done, it's like it didn't happen.
Right. It'll be like you went under and then came up.
Dude, that's tough.
Yeah, that's crazy tough. I thought about that for a couple minutes and I don't know, dude. Because when you're in it, well, I mean, when you're in it, Bob's your uncle.
Yeah.
But you won't remember.
A 1,000 years. Like, it's crazy. 1,000 years ago, it was 10:25. What was going on then? Like, just to put into perspective, the amount of time that is.
That's an insane amount of time.
And you're just like getting poked with sticks and burned by your toes or whatever they do in hell.
Yeah.
For 1,000 of them frickers.
But hey, when you're done, you won't remember anything ever even happened.
Now that's a moral dilemma.
That's
what are you thinking?
Well,
now?
I don't know if that's a moral dilemma. I think that's just a tough question.
It's just a dilemma is what it is.
Yeah, that's a dilemma. See, I don't know what I would do because I know that when I'm in the middle of it, when I'm at year one, I'm going to be like, motherfricker, I should have taken the life sentence.
Yeah.
But when I'm done and I've forgotten, I'm going to be like, why would I have ever chosen anything different?
Yeah, you're gonna be like, all right, I'll take the 1,000 years in hell. All right, it's done.
Exactly. But when you're at year one and 50 and 100, you're gonna be like, I hate myself. I should have taken the life sentence.
Because at some point you get 500 years into it, and you think back on how long 500 years took. And you know that if I got 500 more years to go, and at least this is how I would be. I know myself. I'd be like, how good are these 60 years I've got gonna be? You know, like I just did 500. I got 500 more to go. Also, I can live a hopefully decent 60 years on the back end.
And you just did 60 like 8 times.
Yeah. You're thinking, what's the point?
But yeah, of course you're thinking that when you're in the moment. And then it's done. And you're going to be like, why would I have ever chosen anything different? I just lost nothing.
Yeah. It's almost like another version of you suffered. It's almost kind of what that's like.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Honestly.
I don't have an answer for that.
I don't know either,
can't.
dude. I don't know the answer. I don't know what I would do. That's really tough. That's really tough.
That's the kind of thing to ponder on for days. I don't know. Maybe by the time we record next, maybe I'll have an answer on that.
Maybe.
But I don't
Well,
know.
It's ChatGPT has 4 more pretty good moral dilemmas for me, and I think I want to save it for next episode because so far these have actually been pretty good.
We could do a follow up.
So you'll ponder that.
Maybe I will ponder that too. I want to know what you're thinking on that later down the road.
I'll think about it, see what my answer would probably be. Maybe I'll ask my roommate. I'll probably talk to people about it. Honestly, I want to get more opinions because that's a really hard one.
Yeah, that's something you. I might actually do this tomorrow. Like I might just like at work, I'll just be like, hey, by the way, and just like ruin people's day.
Yeah, that's a rough one. Well, we'll come at some more moral dilemmas next episode. If you liked what you heard, and you're listening on a platform, which I presume you are,
I'd hope you are.
Like or rate 5 stars, depending on where you're at, and comment on all of them. I'm pretty sure comments is an option everywhere. So,
hey, comment about any of the things we talked about today, but especially that last bit. What you would do?
Oh yeah, please give some opinions on that last bit.
If we get some quality feedback on that, any of them really, but especially that last one, maybe we'll read them out. So I'd love to discuss what other people are thinking too.
Yeah, we'd love some opinions on that. So we will get on these next week, and we will see you next week.